Today we have with us Mr. Abhijeet Sinha, who is a technocrat, policy entrepreneur, currently contributing with tech pilots in the Prime Minister initiative on ease of doing business as National Program Director of EoDB services. He is also the project director of National Highway for EV, that is NHEV. Abhijeet is holding additional charge of famous National Highway for EV Jaipur Delhi Agra Pilot Project Director, where he has completed India's longest 210 km e-highway tech trial run between Delhi Agra in 2020. In 2022, he commissioned two of India's largest EV charging stations with 100 plus and 112 chargers with a capacity to charge 1500 cars in 24 hours and recorded maximum 72% utilization with a minimal break-even tenure of 36 months. In an exclusive interview with Geospatial World, Abhijeet Sinha will talk on anchoring of new technologies by ease of doing business, adoption of EV in India, and the challenges he faced on the road to EVs. Since the ease of doing business is anchoring new technologies, how do you see the use of geospatial technologies like radar, GIS, and space in the sustainable development of India?
I think this is a question of our economy that as a piloting agency, we do pilots. But when it comes to ease of doing business as a word, most of the people, most of the listeners and viewers would relate it with the World Bank ranking of ease of doing business. Now, let me draw the patch between these two, that we have been doing very good work in the ease of doing business segment as a country. But where we have reached from starting from 2014, from a 142 ranking, we have reached to 63rd global World Bank ranking. In this journey, we further aim to reach at 50. But if you look at companies who are around 50, you will look at Italy. So a technology which you just named into geospatial side, if they land to Italy, the kind of hand-holding, the kind of comfort and kind of commercial or facilitation they will get into Italy, and the same technologies or same companies, if they land into India, they will get something very, very different. So ease of doing business here comes in to bring and make the landing of these emerging technologies, which are globally looking forward to their path to enter into emerging and developing economies, is very pioneer. And our role particularly brings all three things which these technologies required. Number one, you require a very defined process of certification, approval, and regulatory framework for a new technologies. Be it into geospatial, be it into AI, ML, 3D printing, or anything which has a cutting edge power to change and transform that sector, but it has to go through the regulations and it has to go through the certification process. Second, how does financial sector look at it? Do they look at the potential which this particular technology, after a large adoption and scale, can bring? They need to be confident about the ecosystem, business model, utilization, break even, all that, rate of return. And then third but not least, how are we going to use that? The consumer segment, maybe a consumer from the retail segment, or maybe B2B, B2G. So any sort of those consumer segment who is going to consume it, they also need to be brought in consensus that it is safe, it is fundable, you can ensure it. So all these type of deliveries are practiced into a pilot together. They are orchestrated together so that the opportunity for adoption on the larger scale can be created. And we, as an ease of doing business tech piloting agency, we do continuous pilot in this segment. And I look at it as a very promising sector, because each technology into geospatial or into emerging tech are having a potential to completely change that sector to a very transformative and a very transformational reform, and they can further go to a transformation. So that's the one take from me, and it will be very nice that we can take much more discussion in this segment to see how many technologies we deserve to have and that they have potential to take it through.
How do you think geospatial technologies will reach to the masses?
Both cases we have gone through, and I think government, as it has to be part of the technology buying. In electric mobility, government used to be biggest buyer. In last 10 years, whatever buying or whatever execution has happened, this has happened from the buying of government. Be it charger or be it vehicle, the prime and the majority of buying has happened from the government books. Where have we reached is an important question. If we are talking about utilization of the product, if we are talking about utilization or the break even of the charging infrastructure, or an infrastructure which is good for the climate, good for the environment, somehow government managed to buy it on their books, it is implemented, but it is not turning out to be profitable. So government is one part. If it is not turning out to be profitable, it is not creating an ease of doing business case. Ease of doing business case is only created when private operators, public-private partnerships, they all are confident on the ecosystem that if we buy this, it reduces our cost, it reduces our problems and obstacles, and it is increasing our efficiency, it's increasing our profitability. So both of them, they are significant for buying.
Mr. Sinha, how can electric vehicle technology contribute to a more sustainable world?
If you look at electric vehicle technology into sustainable, then we'll have to keep the user in the center. It's not meant for the buyers, it's not meant for the EV companies, it's not meant for the charger companies. It's meant for people who are going to use it. And user will only be confident and comfortable when we'll be able to give them some comfort, areas of concern to be addressed. Number one, if someone buys an electric vehicle, wish to go out of city, he is more concerned that if I shut down, who will help me? Second, somebody setting up a charging infrastructure on highway, he'll be more concerned about profitability. Who is going to come and get charged there so that his profitability remains there? And third, if someone is willing to buy an EV to operate as a fleet, then what is the cost which he'll have to pay to operate? Is it the total cost of ownership is comparable neck to neck with diesel or petrol, or it is going to be an expensive affair? Because people look at it as a price war between EVs and other vehicle. So we try to maintain all of this, and this brings to a very confident generation of electric mobility, that if someone traveling from one part to another part, they have this confidence of that if they shut down on the highway, within 30 minutes a vehicle can come, it can rescue them, can repair them, it can give them a roadside assistance, because the entire highway is being backed by charging stations after each 50 kilometer, and these stations are equipped with roadside assistance. Second, what I said, that someone who is willing to buy or invest into charging infrastructure, they also have a guaranteed income and guaranteed utilization, so that their profitability and their model for operating does not get hampered. So these are some equations which, through a pilot of emerging technology, we managed to bring out and put people, their financiers, their government into confidence.
How geospatial technologies are being used to locate suitable hotspots for charging points of electric vehicles?
If you look at geospatial technology, it's very, very important, and it is being used on multiple layers, because National Highway EV is going to offer vehicle without driver also. And when we are giving without driver, there are multiple trackers and multiple devices being installed inside the vehicle to on and off continuously track that vehicle. It also have active trackers, passive trackers in case of any theft occurs, or somebody wishes to willingly or wickedly goes away with a vehicle which they have not booked for a certain trip. So it also has configured, it has power to configure in compulsive discharge, so that vehicle can be stopped. And vehicle's current location, how far it is from the station, how stations are planned, what kind of fleet we are expecting into that area, what network it is there, geofencing of the highways, These all are the technologies which are related to geospatial, and it is very well contributing to the purpose that a fleet operator very comfortably he can give away a very expensive vehicle costing around 25 to 30 lakh rupees to people, and people can compare it. The best part of commercialization is people can compare it that what they have been paying to a Toyota Innova diesel and what they are paying to an electric SUV car, they can compare it's almost less than half of the cost. So people who are the users, they actually get the benefits carried away.
Does that mean that the location of the charging stations are not determined using only semantic information but by integrating spatial information with semantic information?
Sanjay ji, when we are connecting and we are saying it's an e-highway, the entire geo mapping of the highway has to happen. It is not only the 3D mapping, it is also the geolocation and the mapping, microgrid level mapping of almost a 4-meter square table, 4-meter square patch, and then the digital patch is created for that entire highway. These digital patches also have the information about toll plazas, their stations, where are the important services like hospital, police, fire on the way, and also if there is a commercial entity on that highway. So the entire highway is geo-mapped, geo-fenced, so that vehicle, buses or electric vehicle, anybody who is traveling on that, who is connected with a certain type of devices inside the vehicle, both of them on technical platforms, they can meet each other. And people who are operating them, people who are controlling them from the admin point of view, security point of view, commercial billing point of view, they all can use these geospatial facilities to commercialize and to make it more safer and more reliable for both users and operators.
How do you determine the volume and locations of the required charging stations?
It is determined on the basis of frequency, how many trips these vehicles are going to conduct, what are the numbers of currently fleets and trips, how many vehicles, cars and four-wheelers, SUVs are currently serving that segment. If that segment is being introduced with an insertion of 2 to 3, maximum 5% EV in the current running fleet and frequency, then these frequency would require a certain number of charging infrastructure. As per the Power Ministry guideline, there should be a 25-kilometer gap between two fast charging infrastructure, or other way you can say that after each 25 kilometer there should be a fast charging facility. But we have as of now realized that after certain technical trials, if we keep a station after 50 kilometer, it is very well serving the purpose of roadside assistance. After each 50 kilometer means a vehicle which is getting shut down between two stations can be maximum 25 kilometer away from one station. And to reach out to that vehicle, particularly if you have the geospatial data of that vehicle, that what is the location, and even if it is moving and it is not going to reach to the next station, it is going to contribute to the RSA team that they will be able to reach out as soon as possible when the breakdown happens. And it is not only for the purpose of a shutdown vehicle or a broken vehicle, it is also continuously being exercised with the vehicle running on the stretch. So each time a vehicle, when it is crossing a charging station, it passes a small data pack from the battery management system to the radars and to the scanners of the gantry. These entries, these overhead sensors, they process that data into charging station. And each time we can diagnose, we can see the health of the battery and the engine, the pattern of driving, and this communication between vehicle and data, between vehicle and station, it continuously goes on after each 50 kilometer. So someday a fault is going to happen. We are prepared for it with geospatial technologies and with this data exchange. We are not saying that vehicle will not shut down, EVs would not have problem. We are only saying that with these technologies, if you shut down, we'll be able to predict it, and within 30 minutes we'll be able to reach out to you with exact connector, battery and the technical team for giving you roadside assistance.
What role do you see of municipalities in the EV adoption in India?
Municipal corporations would have to come out. They will have to look at the bottlenecks of EV sector, and the bottlenecks one of the major bottleneck is the mapping, geo mapping of the area which they are handling. There are a lot of areas, there are a lot of places where an EV charging point or an EV facilities can be installed, but it would only be possible when you have a geo map for that. If you will not create a very digital, very responsive mapping of the area under the municipal corporation, we will not be able to offer it to the operators of electric mobility. If it is being offered, the conversation of commercial renting and the space cost starts. The revenue on which that area is going to give, that also required a certain level of geospatial analytics. That how many people are living in that area, how many people are having EVs, and okay, they will be able to go to that location for charging or not. So these revenue related calculations are to be done on the basis of geospatial mapping, and also the mapping is going to give us a renting revenue pattern, so that municipal corporation and a fleet operator or a charge point operator, they both can come on the same consensual picture or same numbers, that this is the revenue which we are expecting. And slowly I think revenues can add up to, and areas where monetization is not very easy for municipal corporation, they can also be used by them. So role of municipal corporation is very, very important for city diagrams. So we have started some work in the city, but majority of our work is into highways.
What do you see as the biggest challenge facing the adoption of electrical vehicles in India?
Biggest challenge in electric vehicle adoption is how are we going to look at it? If we look at it as a vehicle to vehicle comparison, we will end up comparing an electric vehicle with a diesel vehicle. If we look at it that electric mobility is the cheapest and more reliable than a diesel vehicle, it can only be looked at the comparison between metro and an electric highway. Metro has a tube formation. It starts from a point, it goes to a point. It is consuming a continuous charge from the overhead wire or sometime from the track itself. Electric mobility or e-highways, wherever we can find a pattern. Inside the city, there can be a circular pattern of an electric mobility running around. I am not referring here the overhead wires. What I am referring that if the route is fixed, people who are traveling from that mobility is fixed. People from city A to city B are traveling on a frequent level. If these numbers are there, then there can be a business model developed by giving them an infrastructure and by bringing fleet operator inside it, rather than asking people to buy more and more vehicle. I am not against it that people should not buy EVs, but I am more concerned about making electric mobility available to people without even buying it. This is what NHEV is doing. If you do not own a car, still you can hire a car. Go to Jaipur, go to Agra. You are highly tracked, you are highly monitored, so your safety is not a concern. Wherever you are moving, your geospatial data is with us. We are taking care of you. Your vehicle has a problem, we are taking care of it. So you are not going to pay a lot of attention when you are traveling in a metro. Same is with NHEV or same is with electric mobility. If you are using it, you are potentially contributing as a consumer, which is giving microeconomics to the sector. Right now, our main focus, or you can say it's towards someone motivating somebody to buy a vehicle, where the vehicle's buying responsibility is individual, maintenance responsibility is individual, and a lot of responsibilities attached to it, it goes individual. If the same person, which is the millennial generation now, is more willing to use Ola, Uber, and BlueSmart and companies like who are renting a vehicle, if they are more happy to use that vehicle within city and outside city, which they are not owning. But the owner of these operators, they are having the vehicle, they know the charger, they know the fleet booking, and they are willing to offer that vehicle, electric vehicle, to fit to your pocket. If you want it for 1 day, 2 days, 7 days, 1 hour, whichever way you want, a vehicle of electric mobility or electric vehicle can be provided to you. That is the main challenge which I look at it, because we have not started looking at electric mobility that way. We mostly look at it in a way that, okay, diesel car and petrol car.
Which means, if I am not wrong, you are trying to change the mindset of the people?
it is like users pattern is changing into taking mobility as a service rather than taking mobility as a product.
Where do you think India stand vis-a-vis other nations in EV adoption?
It is very motivating at this stage of time when we have programs like COP27 or Niti's very promising program Life Mission, which gives some insight not only from the commercial point of view but also from the lifestyle point of view, that India is a leading nation by its ancient wisdom and by its nature and origination to give an environment friendly and eco friendly lifestyle to people, not only from the waste to wealth management but also from the aspects of environment and nature, which is a core value of our Indian Vedic culture. This brings us to not only a place where we are going to talk about it, but we also need to have proven models. If you do not have your cities who are very well managed in terms of traffic, in terms of pollution, emission, and AQI and air quality, we cannot go out and say that, okay, India is in a very leading position who can tell you how to live with nature. So our economy has now reached on a point where we have two divides. If we manage to give these success stories of how we managed our problems, world is going to be after us. 5 trillion and 10 trillion economy is just a number for us. This decade is to be called India's decade, the century would be India's. But if we fail to manage ecosystems where we have technologies, where there are spendings, where there are a lot of value creation done, but we could not retain when it comes to delivery. Look at 4 examples. You see sometimes someone is not getting an ambulance on a very critical mind, on a very critical age. Some journalist gets into an primary school and asks a couple of questions to teachers. They do not get apt answers. You come from a conference of autonomous vehicle and self-driven vehicle, and somebody hits you on the road. You go to police and police says, I cannot track the vehicle. So technology is growing, but how do you make people accountable, people disciplined in that use of technology, that we are aware about the traffic rules, we are aware about emission, and we actually uses the best solutions or the best options to grow as a country. Not only as an individual who has power to buy a vehicle, you can buy a number of vehicles, but where do they go? They get you stuck in your own city, in your own traffic, and then you start saying, where have we reached? So we as an economy has reached on a delivery challenge right now. If we meet that challenge and we deliver ourselves as a successive and very progressive economy, we'll be able to take not only electric mobility, geospatial, drone, 3D printing, many AI, ML, big data challenges and analytics. All of these technologies will be able to create success stories for that.
Where do you see India in EV adoption 10 years from now?
I told you that if we look at ecosystems, we will completely change the way we grow into EV. If we look at retail products, we will only be able to project or forecast number of sales of vehicle. If you look at airport, railway stations, cantonments or refineries, any premises which has number of vehicle, maybe universities or maybe societies which has a premises and they have a vehicle for internal use inside the premises. These premises need to be done green. They need to be declared green. Whatever vehicle you have or whatever mode of transport you have, you are using that, you continue using that. But when you reach to such premises entry, you switch to electric, you switch to green vehicle, and then people who are using most of the time these vehicles, they grow a different level of confidence inside themselves that we are using for a quite considerable time of our traveling on green. We can also look at buying these vehicles or adopting for a permanent. Not only buying is an option, but also subscribing to one of those vehicles. If this changes, then you can see the answers for the electric mobility adoption. Because currently we are asking a question, from the single user, that why you do not take a decision to buy an EV. But when the question is flipped to an institution, to your society or to your RWA, that why you don't fix 8 chargers in our parking, then the answer is simple. They have a lot of money in their bank accounts. They have a responsibility to make the premises green, and it will only start when the institutional decisions start happening. It would not start from the retail. Retail are the people who will come late, and institutions, any institution, government institution, mall, hospitals, cinema halls, they all can take such decisions on a wider and more speedy way.
In 2021, the global EV market achieved 108% growth in sales. The Net Zero by 2050 project projects that by 2030, EV will account for over 60% of new car sales. Do you think it is achievable?
If we are talking globally, then I may not be able to be right person to comment on it. But if you look at India's position as a country, then the adoption or the percentage which we are quoting or which we are aiming at may look very promising because they are multifold. They are even going on 200, 300%. But if you look at the area we need to cover, if you look at the numbers which we need to do, then globally we do not stand on a very significant position. We are not even the top 10, top 20, top 40 or top 50. We are below that. And it is not only because our numbers are less, it is because we have a lot of work to do. Whenever we try to do something, it looks like it is very little and too late. So if you look at India's strategy of adoption, we will have to have maintaining a growth of more than 500% of the current growth. That will only be able to make us in the list somewhere, because countries who have looked at infrastructure and vehicle from a different perspective of the start, they have an easy adoption. We do not have an easy adoption because of number of vehicle, and our segment of vehicle are very, very low priced, very economical vehicle we have in India. However, electric mobility and their segment starts from a pricey range. A company or a country who has a starting range of around 20-25 lakh rupees, for them switching to 30 lakh rupees vehicle is not a very difficult task. But for a country who have 2.5 lakh rupees segment, and that segment is the majority segment, then if you tomorrow produce a vehicle, the question and the onus is on the OEM, that they have to come down from 25 lakh rupees to 12 lakh rupees. I heads off to Indian OEMs who are continuously working in this segment, and it has not only came down to 6-7 lakh rupees, starting from Tata and then going up to 20-25 lakh rupees, but we have a segment growing in this sector also, who will be very soon able to give vehicle which are very cheap, and they can be able to make the faster road for adoption.